Stuck on Purpose is tonight's topic, and it's just so exciting for me to be with you this evening. Wednesday nights are the nights that I look forward to because it gives me the opportunity to think about things deeply and to share some of my thoughts with you and with fellow mappers. So I trust that as we talk about this topic tonight, stuck on purpose, and what I don't mean that you literally stuck purposefully. I mean, stuck on this question of purpose. And so many people spend their life trying to discover their purpose or asking questions like, what is the purpose of my life? Or what is the purpose of life in general? And I think it starts at a very young age. I see young children, and I'm sure for those of you who have your own children, you would have noticed just what I did. And that is that from day one, they start stretching out for things. They start groping. They start they're looking, seeking for things. And I've kind of said to myself, if I give a child or put a toy in their vicinity or an object close to them, they seem to be interested in why that particular thing exists. They reach out, they grab it, they bite on it, they bang it, and eventually they lose interest and they'll look for the next thing. And again, they have this inquisitive mind, this inquiring mind to establish why it exists. And then, of course, they get to the age where they learn to talk. And my goodness me, that question, why? Rion is joining us this evening, will know in the language that he speaks, they will be saying, Hukom, why dad, why mom, Hukom pa, Hukom ma. And we come up with this incredible answer as young parents. It's an answer that we learned from our parents. And the answer is, whenever they ask why, we just say, because. There is no answer. We're not addressing the question that they're really asking. And I remember so clearly, I was standing in the yard at my grandfather's farm. And he was standing in the gateway that was between the greater farmyard and the house. And there he was standing, and I was looking up at him. The sun was behind. I hadn't been gifted with spectacles yet. I was still about 5 years of age. And I was looking up at my grandfather, squinting because of the sunshine behind him. And I was on my 10th why, so he tells me. And I remember so clearly him taking that big German finger and sticking it right in my face and saying, if you ever ask me that question again. And you can imagine what followed. And you know something? I ceased to ask that question until my 30th birthday. And I was in Beitbridge, Zimbabwe, about to return home. Imagine being in a foreign country all alone on my birthday. And so I asked the question, why am I here? And as I've been engaging with people over the years, I find it seems to be common that between the age of 35 and 55, people begin to ask the question again. Because they've tried things in life. They've succeeded at things. They've reached certain positions. They've reached a measure of success, and they're beginning to conclude, they're beginning to realize that actually I'm not going to be able to achieve my dreams on the income or on the success or on the position that I've reached. And they begin to question the system in which we live. And so there's no doubt in my mind that you are joining us tonight because deep down, you also would love to connect with your passion and to do what you love doing every single day. You know, Les Brown says, what is it that puts a smile on your face that you could do 7 days a week? And I think everybody would love to be there. But we've begun to confuse meaning and money. And so often, I mean, just this morning, I saw a Facebook post when I was posting my daily social media. In fact, it's day 111 today, Rion. Day 111 of posting a social media quote. And I saw the son of a pastor asking for donations, asking for money to go somewhere. And I'm saying to myself, what happened? We believe in a creator, a God, and yet money becomes the means to the end. And I'm asking this question. And so purpose is something that I think confounds most of us because we're looking in the wrong place. I had the opportunity to go to the optometrist earlier this year, and he tricked me. He put a green lens in front of my left eye and a red lens in front of my right eye. And he asked me, what do you see? And of course, by this stage, I was sick and tired of hearing which is better, 1 or 2, 3 or 4, that I just snapped out the answer straight away because I wanted to get this eye test over with. And I said, green. And he said, great. So you are left eye dominant. I said, what do you mean? How can you say I'm left eye dominant? Then he explained what he had done. He had placed this green lens over my left eye and the red lens over my right eye. And I was clearly seeing or looking at things with my left eye. My brain had almost blanked out my right eye completely. And it got me thinking that maybe the way that I see the world is based on the lenses that I'm looking through. And I'm beginning to see things in the world because I'm looking through a particular set of lenses. And these lenses might be the result of the territory that I grew up in, the community I grew up in. It might be the result of the culture that I'm part of, the people I associate with, the education I've received over 12 years at school, where they were telling me every single day the answer is finding a good paying job. Or maybe it was when I was at university, when I was becoming specializing as a civil engineer. You know, the more educated I became, the more narrow-minded I seemed to be. And I started looking out through these lenses. And, you know, I began to seek my purpose, not realizing that I was trying to discover my purpose through the lenses of my learned skill instead of my born gifts and talents. So if I'm looking at seeking my purpose through something that I've added to my life after I was born, then I'm going to be inclined to seek opportunities that are only available to civil engineers because that's what I've been programmed to look for. Yet my personal gift and talent might be quite different from that. And so when we seek purpose, I believe we need to be looking through the lenses of our born gifts and talents. There's a great proverb that talks about the idea of training up a child in the way that he or she should go, so that when they are older, they do not depart from that. And, you know, I interpreted that every time as, you know, you need to beat some sense into your children. Okay, let me not use that word because that sounds like violence. But we need to train up our children in our culture, in our belief system. We must make sure they go to Sunday school, go to church, go to the mosque, do whatever it might be. Kind of go through this process of indoctrinating our children, make sure they speak our language, make sure they practice our traditions, and go through all these things. But as I've got older, I'm beginning to, maybe I should use the word wiser, but sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I think you just get older, not wiser. But I was looking back at that and saying, maybe the message here is that my responsibility as a parent is to identify the born gifts and talents that this gift of a child has come with, and encourage them to explore every opportunity within that passion so that they can connect with it better, so that when they are older, they are not looking through the lenses of whatever skill they have been told they should be learning, but rather they look at the world through the lenses of their gift and talent so that they can identify the needs that they have been purposed to meet. So purpose is linked to your born gift and talent, not your learned skills. Of course, your learned skill could be fully aligned with your passion. And in that case, you've simply sharpened the saw. You've become better at what you're passionate about. That is different. But for many people, their learned skill was directed by opportunity, aligned with the ability to have a title, to earn a certain income, to live in a certain suburb, to be someone, not realizing that in the process you become something instead of being someone. What I've also begun to realize is that purpose is not inherited, it is inbuilt. It's not inherited, it's inbuilt. So if my father was a thatcher or a bricklayer or a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, okay, it doesn't mean that that's now what I am. I don't inherit purpose from my earthly father. I am unique in every way. My fingerprints are different to his, believe it or not. My DNA is different to his, if you can believe that. My voice is different to his. My looks may be similar, but they are different because my phone will open on my face, not his. So everything about me is different. So if everything about me is different, it is highly likely, incredibly probable that my purpose is unique. I certainly can have that thought. And so purpose is not inherited, it's inbuilt. Why do I say that? Well, what's interesting about purpose, if you believe in purpose, or if you feel that there needs to be purpose, you have to conclude that there is a creator. Because in everything that we create is preceded by the existence of a need which drives or identifies or qualifies the purpose. So a need precedes the purpose of a thing. And the purpose directs the design of the thing that's going to be created to meet the original need. So purpose is actually the original intent of something, or in tonight's discussion, someone. So purpose is certainly not inherited, it's inbuilt. In other words, your gifts and talents were perfectly assigned to you because the need that you were designed to come and meet preceded your creation. At least that's the conclusion that I have to come to when I look at the way you and I create things. When we make something, there's a process that we follow. And if we create it in God's image and in his likeness, maybe the way we do things gives us a little bit of an insight into the way he created us. He saw the end before the beginning. Before the foundations of the earth, he knew you. And if you are here, you and I are here for such a time as this, then we have to believe that our mandate has come. And this is our time to do what we were born to do. Purpose is not chosen, but discovered. Purpose is not chosen, but discovered. But here's the interesting thing about you and I, and that is that we are able, in fact, we have a birthright, and that birthright is the ability to exercise our free will. That means that we can choose to look through the lenses of our born gifts and talents, or we can choose to look through the lenses of our learned skill. Just on that, I had the ability, or the opportunity rather, to speak to somebody who was, because this is past tense, was the head of curriculum development in one of the provinces for our country. And we had a long discussion about purpose. And at the end, he agreed about the importance of passion and purpose, but reminded me that the reason the school exists is to equip people to meet the needs that corporate organizations have. I was speechless when I heard that, because I realized that my children that I was putting into school, and I thought I was educating them, was actually me putting them into a system so that they could become someone else's slave. Now, those lenses I cannot afford to look through. I cannot afford to encourage my children to look through those lenses. So, purpose, although you can choose how to purpose your life, you can only discover the purpose for which you were created. And your gifts and talents will enable you to see that. You'll be able to identify not the needs that the media tells you are out there, the needs that connect with your heart. When you find compassion about something, when you are moved by someone, when you feel you need to be the voice for the voiceless, when you feel that you need to stand up instead of blend in, when you are compelled to do something because no one else is doing it, I think in those circumstances, you're beginning to connect with the things of purpose. I was sitting in a place called Polokwane. It's a city in the north. It sounds like my dog that is in my near vicinity has a message that he wants to share tonight as well. So if you hear him commenting, maybe he's agreeing on this purpose message. But I was in Petersburg, and while I was there and gifted with some special time, because the person that I'd traveled 2.5 hours to go and meet didn't arrive for the meeting. He had some feeble excuse why I couldn't be there. I decided, instead of being angry by the situation, I'm going to actually use this opportunity to think. And I began to think about something, and I ended up writing down a short little summary of the thoughts that I had that particular day. And this was the thought. It was that the comfort zone is the place where people are simply existing, live. Beyond the comfort zone is the place where people who are really living exist. What did that teach me? It taught me that the places that I was avoiding, the places or the things that I was blaming, the fingers that I was pointing to others or to things out there, could in fact hold the secret to my purpose. Every child wants to explore. They want to get off the blanket. They want to move beyond the boundaries. They want to find the door and escape out of the house. They want to find the gate and get out of the yard. They want to go places. It's the most natural thing that we have. It's this ability, this desire to be on an adventure. I mean, we are born to be on a journey. But a journey is defined by its destination. And most people have no clarity on what that destination is. I want to encourage you tonight. Begin to explore again. Begin to reinvigorate your curiosity. Begin to ask questions that are going to give you the answer you're seeking. Begin to look in places where you can find the answer you're looking for. Begin to knock on doors of the rooms in which you know the key people are. Because in doing that, you'll begin to discover. Just a last comment. Miles Monroe said that where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. If you have not connected with your purpose and passion, there's going to be a gnawing at your heart, kind of a something scratching all the time at you. You're going to feel, this is not what I should be doing. I should be doing something else. And the majority of people are in that place. And I want to encourage you to start asking this question. Not maybe just to step back, and I see our time is moving on. In 1978, I had a vision that as quickly as it came, that's how quickly it went. I had this vision that I was going to map the world. And I was so excited. I turned to tell the rest of my 12-year-old friends that I'm going to map the world. But in the process of turning my head to tell them, I saw a map above the board, and the map said world map. And instantly, a little Glen jumped up inside of me, a little devil. A little devil jumped. I'm going to say the devil inside of me jumped up and said, no, whoa, you can't map the world. Look, it's already been mapped. It was 40 years later when I changed my question from why am I here, and I accepted the fact that I was here to map the world, and I began to change my quest. Instead of why am I here, I changed the quest to why map the world. And when I made that change, I got the answer I was looking for. And perhaps therein lies the solution to purpose. And that is to accept that there is a God, and He did create you for something very special. And instead of questioning Him and saying, what on earth were you thinking putting me here? To instead say, here I am. Like all of the great patriarchs that we read about, they all started by saying, here I am. And immediately they said those words. The story by which we know them was revealed. I trust that tonight you will become stuck on purpose, not stuck in purpose, but rather become focused on it. Not to let it go until you find the answer that you seek. And maybe the answer that you seek requires you to change the question that you're asking. Maybe the answer that you seek requires you to look in places you've not been looking. Maybe the answer you seek requires you to knock on doors that you've not been knocking on. I'm excited about this quest, and I trust that Rion and Sophia from Leidenburg and Johannesburg in South Africa are going to shed some of their insights, their thoughts, and maybe help us to take this quest a little bit further. Before I bring them into the studio, I'm going to just play a short message from my friend Dr. Yona in Tanzania, and as soon as he's done, I'll bring Rion and Sophia into the chat.
Hello, habari gani rafiki? I am Dr. Zaipuna Yona in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. I started using Map for Life in 1999, then called the Journal. For me, Map for Life is a must companion tool that guides me to live a God-class life. My favorite leadership quote is, I am significant, so are you. Be mapped.
Dr. Yona is going to be hanging around there for a while. I need to press the button. So, Rion, welcome to you. I'm gonna just pop your names up on the screen there. Welcome, good to have you joining me this evening. I don't know if I have muted you, so I'm going to unmute you from this side, unless it's on your side that you muted. Okay, let me just yes, maybe you need to just check on your side if you can unmute. There we go. Great. Good to have you. And Sophia, wonderful to have you as well. Both Rion and Sophia are passionate about Map for Life, and I am excited to hear your insights this evening. But Rion, just quickly tell us, I was going to say, tell us what the weather like is in Lydenburg, but that is so yesterday. I mean, everybody asks, how is the weather? Tell us what exciting stuff is happening that's transforming Lydenburg.
Thank you, Glen. No, it's great to be here. I haven't been here for a while. I've been running with something we do here in South Africa. We call it Time to Rise. It's a movement to unite Christians over the country, and I'm driving it here in the Mpumalanga province to the east of South Africa. And in Lydenburg, we've got a few people that put their hands up. So I'm excited. The times we live in, we need to start realizing what our purpose is. There's a very, and I need to also sensitize the people. What I realize is there's a very big movement against purpose. People are pushing us to live on default, and to live on this place where nothing happens, and we are told we must just survive. If you can just survive, if you can just put food on the table, then you'll be all right. Live below the radar, don't say anything, don't let everyone see you, and purpose being pushed aside. But what I love about this movement of Time to Rise is, it's really asking from us to start living our godly purpose, to start living our calling. And so I'm very excited about what's happening. And here in Lydenburg, it's taking time. We're here in the countryside. But you know what? It's not about how many people wake up. It's about you waking up if you are being called. And that's a big thing. So the few people that are starting to rise here in our little province of Mpumalanga, it's great to see. Because when I speak to them and I get to know new people now, I learn what is their calling, what is their purpose, what makes them tick. And you will find the most amazing people at the most amazing places. You will think you need to look at a fancy place to find these people. They are farming in Kumati Port, and they are on this side doing something, and this one is on pension. And you start talking about to the people, and you just find this big heart that is moving this man or this woman to really make a difference. So, spot on tonight. We need to find our purpose, and we need to push the message to get people away from default and get them into purpose, because we got used, especially in our country of South Africa, to live on default. And we complain about it, but we don't do anything. We need to start living purposefully.
Rion, what you're talking about is literally in 2018, I remember using a phrase when I was speaking to a group of teachers, and the phrase I used was the death of the child. And the perception that I was having is that at the age of 12, when you ask a child, what do they want to be? They are unashamed about what their passion is. They will fight over who's going to share their answer first. And then you go to high school and you ask the same question, and nobody wants to put up their hand. Nobody wants to stand out anymore. They all want to blend in. And so there is clearly a need for us. I love this term, time to rise. This is the time to stand up, because when you are not pursuing your purpose, you're like a light that is being put underneath the bin. Underneath, or like a light that's been put inside the box. I've got a box over here. It's like kind of put inside the box, closed there. And that's where most people are. It's time for us to get out there. Sophia, what do you say?
Oh, Glenn, I couldn't say it any better. But I wanted to just go back on something you said about kids, because I think that's where it starts. I think the limiting beliefs and the dreams and the purpose and everything. And I mean, the educational system now has changed so much since we were kids. And the whole history and all all of that is all different. And it's horrific to think that kids are molded for corporate, because I've always taught my kids, think out the box, make a difference, be who you are and be authentic. Don't just go with the flow. And they used to get into a lot of trouble because of that, because they wouldn't obey the teachers. A teacher would kick my son's school bag, and then my son would challenge the teacher, and then the teacher had an issue with him because he challenged the teacher, but quite rightly so. The same with my daughter. So it's not an easy path sometimes, but it's a necessary one, because I remember sitting with you in 2011 and saying, I'm at the cusp. I want to start my own company that's been going for a while, but I don't know. I'm good with people, but I also love insurance. It's always been my dream to open my own brokerage. And you looked at me and you said one thing, and I'll never forget it. And the thing was, well, what is your purpose and what do you love doing? And I think you're good with people. So whichever direction you go in, you're going to succeed. So yeah, I think that is critical. And I also think for me, I've never liked going with the flow. I always go against the flow, because I don't want to be like everyone else. I want to think independently. I want to, insurance is sort of boxed, but we create new product, which is what makes us unique. But it's not an easy path. But having said that, it just helps you think out that box and not have that skill set that says, okay, I only have this skill set, therefore I can only do this. And I think my kids are very similar, because my son is an LLB, my daughter's about to finish her degree. Both of them work in my company, but both of them also have their own companies. So it's an interesting concept. But I think it's also around, when you're passionate about something, your purpose definitely becomes clearer. But sometimes people think that what you're passionate about is insignificant and cannot be done.
Sophia, you're just talking about, as you were talking about sharing the stories about school. I was wondering what Rebel Wilson's parents were thinking when they gave her name. And I was thinking, maybe they had some insight. Maybe they were saying, listen, you need to be different. You need to be who you were born to be. There's a guy, John Mason. He's got a book titled "Born an Original, Die a Copy." And it seems
wow.
it seems like that's and the beauty about it. He had this picture, Rion. There was a picture of an apple on the cover of the book, but it was an apple that had a wedge cut out of it, and inside the apple was an orange, and it's just a fascinating picture. And I thought, isn't that so true of us? You know, outside we're trying to pretend to be something that's acceptable to the world, but inside we're burning to do something different. We're burning to do something unique. We're burning to stand out, to not be like everyone else. And so
absolutely.
I think tonight's topic is something that a lot of people are going to identify with, and so Sophia, thanks for sharing that. I think we're going to continue in this form and just share ideas. Rian, you've heard what Sophia said. Maybe there's something that just sparked a thought in your mind.
Again, if I listen to you in terms of born an original and I a copy, I actually read this afternoon on LinkedIn, and I might be wrong. It was the thing that I posted, but they said the banks will keep you in debt, the pharmaceutical companies will keep you sick, the guys producing the weapons will keep us in war, and the government will rubber stamp it to say it's legal. So it's a bit tongue in cheek, but that unfortunately the world doesn't want originals, because people have created, they've pursued their dreams, and they need us to be the copies to support them. So whenever you and I think that's what all of us said today, this evening, is that you will get resistance. And it's difficult. It's difficult to rise up. It's difficult to get out, And I know when I started my company last year, and it's going very slowly, but a lot of people tell you, you're a trained accountant. Why are you struggling? You've been in the mining. These things. Just go and do it. They don't ask you how were you feeling when you were inside the box that the world created for you. They just tell you, you've done it for 25 years. Why don't you just go back and suffer until the day that you die? And so there's little support for it. It's difficult for people to understand. But it is so necessary for us to really go out there and pursue our passion. Because what I've realized is, once upon a time, I was a much more passionate person. I could really light up. And that's what I like about some of this Time to Rise meetings that we have. There's certain leaders that came up. There's a guy from the Western Cape. When he talks, you can hear, there's a fire burning in his heart. I think if you're standing next to him, you will also light up, because he is so busy with what is making him tick. He is so passionate about people and about God. When you're around him, you just start stirring up as well. And
he sounds like a guy with red hair.
And he hasn't even got red hair. I think everything is shaved off in any case. But I've been at a place where I've also been very passionate and allowed myself that I get distracted from my purpose. Because you know what? I need to make ends meet. I need to look after my family. I need to do this. I need to do that. And then we allow ourselves, and we're actually killing ourselves slowly. We're cutting off our passion. We're cutting off our purpose. We acknowledge my purpose. It's fine, but it's for another day. For today, I must just go with the flow and make sure I don't upset anybody. I worked at the mine for 19 years, and at the end of the day, I thought they're going to raise a statute for me, and all they raised for me is the curtain to use the exit gate, to say, thank you, there's a gate. And nothing against the corporate world. That's the way the corporate, when they need you, they need you. When they're finished, then you go off. But we allow ourselves to not live purposefully. And then we allow ourselves to become this default people. And that's why we're sitting with all this. We spoke a few weeks back on mental wellness and mental illnesses. I think that's why we're sitting with so much stress and depression and all kinds of weird and wonderful things, is because we allow ourselves to go into this default box. And we have put ourselves there, and we need to get ourselves out with the grace of God. But the first step is like a good Alcoholics Anonymous meetings to say, hi, I'm Rian Berger. I lost my purpose, but I am getting it back.
I like that, Rian. And just this weekend, I had the opportunity to attend an event, and there was a gentleman that spoke at some point. I think he was being recognized for some achievement or something like this, and he was, for all intents and purposes, the most successful person at that particular event. and he had something very interesting to say. He said that, life's not easy, but he said, how else would you grow? We need adversity. He said, if you're not experiencing any discomfort right now, if you're not experiencing any adversity right now, if you're not going through any difficulty at the moment, you better get on your knees fast and ask God why he's neglecting you, why he's left you alone. Because, and that just changes your whole mindset. It says, actually, what I perceive to be a curse right now, in years to come, I'm going to look back at this moment and I'm going to declare to the people around me that was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
And when I hear that kind of statement, I say, okay, great. I've got a curse here, but actually it's not a curse. It's a blessing in disguise. So I'm going to look for the blessing. I'm going to treat this as a blessing. And it changes your whole mindset. It gives you a whole new outlook. I can hear Sophia sitting on the other side. They're saying, give me a chance. I want to say something.
No, I'm patient. I can wait. But Glen, you say that, and as I shared earlier, I had cancer and I have cancer again. And in March, I had the privilege of actually being asked to speak at a Women's Day. I'm not sure if I shared the message with you. And I had 7 minutes to talk about my life and make an impact. And I forget what there was a theme in terms of that Women's Day. But anyway, so I shared a little bit about my life and what happened over the last couple of years and the challenges, etc., and the cancer and whatever. And I was so blown away because afterwards there were a number of women that came to me and came and spoke to me about their struggles or their cancer or whatever the issue was, and spoke about what an inspiration I was. And I didn't do it because I wanted to be rah and look at Sophia. I did it because I wanted to reach out to the women that needed the help and needed the encouragement. And I'm very passionate about everything I do. And I feel that God has also taken me through this journey of cancer for a reason. Whether it's to talk to other women in the ministry. I mean, we've also got a small cancer group within our ministry now, where we encourage each other and talk to each other and meet sort of every 3 months. And I was also approached to do Pilates for cancer patients, but I've just never got it off the ground because I've been reasonably busy with a lot of other stuff. But I think God's bringing me back to that again. And I think, when you're passionate and you have a purpose, you'll always circle back to it. God will always bring you back to it for some reason. And I've never been happier than being out of corporate. Let me tell you what, best decision I ever made. And I love it.
Sophia, you're talking about something so important, and that is, it's that we can go off track, but there seems to be a magnetic north, in a sense, where we constantly get drawn back to where we should be. And just by the way, you're talking, I'm here trying to say, okay, how do I smile? How do I look enthusiastic when Sophia is telling us something? But I can be enthusiastic because you applied something that's so important, and so many people miss this, and that is, if you want to be encouraged, the best way you can be encouraged is to go and encourage someone else. And when you went there, and I wasn't there at that event, but when you were there, just by being there, by speaking, you were maybe not on purpose, but you were encouraging other people. And through that, you actually experience the encouragement yourself, and it gives you the strength to face another day. I remember some years ago, there was a local farmer in the Eastern Cape. Rion, I must confess, he wasn't a boer. He was a farmer. Okay? And I've learned in Pretoria that there's a difference. Okay, there's a distinct difference. So, but he was a farmer in the Eastern Cape, and he said this very interesting thing. He said, your greatest struggle will be your greatest victory. And
Yeah.
man, that was a difficult pill to swallow. I thought, that's easy for you to say. Let me have my struggle, please. Thank you. I want to tell other people about my struggle. But he just said, your greatest struggle will one day be your greatest victory. And I think that's so, so powerful. And for me, it was difficult to accept it at the moment, but it has been such an encouraging word for so many years. And so, Sophia, I'm excited about what God has in store for you. Boy, oh boy. I mean, there's so many people that need a strong character, somebody who's walked the walk, somebody who's gone through the fire, somebody who's got some scars. Because if I'm going to go into battle, I don't want to go into somebody who's read about it in a textbook. I want to go into battle with somebody who's been there, done that, got the scar, got the T-shirt. And that's what you are. You're going to be a great encouragement just by your example. So well done on keeping your head up, keeping your focus, sticking with your passion, speaking out, because that's going to be a great chapter in your book called Life. Rian?
You know what was very interesting when Sophia now spoke? You touched on success and significance. And at the beginning of the year, always in the beginning of every year, I pray and I ask God, what's his word for the year? And this year, I don't want to go into there. What I found, that the 2 + 0 + 2 + 3, that's 2023 equals 7. And God said it's going to be a year of significance. And one of the things that I said is, significance is to serve and not to be served. It is to pay the price rather than receiving the price, and to be humble and not be proud. But what you have taught us in Map for Life is significance is always about someone else. It's not about you. Significance is not about my price and my being the best. Significance is me getting other people to the victory, getting other people on the podium. It's like Caleb is always a wonderful example for me. I mean, Caleb was the one full of fire. We read that portion of the Bible again. The 10 guys said, no, and Caleb got on fire and said, we're going to go. If God says we're going to go, we're going to go. Long before Joshua said anything. But Caleb was never in front. Caleb was always at the back supporting. Joshua was God's general, but he couldn't do it without Caleb, because Caleb was the one with a fire in his heart. And I think that's significance. It's not wanting to stand on the stage and be getting the ovation for something you've done. Significance is really just getting other people on the stage, getting ovation for them finding their purpose. And what I loved about what Sophia said is, what I realize now through Time to Rise as well, is God gave us a network to live our purpose through, to live purposefully within a network of people. In my MBA studies, I've looked at small consulting firms, and the development of it. And one thing I realized, is that entrepreneurs in general, and what we also find now with kingdom projects is there's just two things. The one thing is that people are standing on their own. Entrepreneurs are like their own. They're standing there. They feel like no one knows what they're really doing, what they're going through, and no one's really interested either. And the same with people that's doing kingdom projects. So what we do at Time to Rise is we create a network to say, hey, you are not alone. And I think in terms of purpose, it's important that we that found our purpose and try to live it, or is fighting the good battle every day. We need to get together in this army to say, you know what? You are not the only person chasing purpose. We are chasing our unique purposes together. That's the one thing they need from the network. And the other one is just the support. It's like Aaron and Hur just standing next to Moses and keeping his hands up. The entrepreneurs just need someone to just check in and ask, how are you doing? Is this something I can do for you? Normally there will be nothing, but maybe one day there's something small. It will never be something big. But you know what? It will make such a huge difference for that person, because they will realize we've got someone that's holding up our hands. And I think that's the thing with purpose. We need to speak about it, and we need to build a network around us that will support us. And that's a great thing that Sophia done. I mean, all she did is she just told the people, you're not alone. And that's why the ladies came to her and said, you know what? It's so inspiring to hear someone else, because I thought I was alone. And I loved, last night we spoke about prayer circles, and what the guy said is it's the same with purpose. They said you need to go out, and you can't just sit on your chair at home praying whenever you want to pray. You need to do something like a prayer walk or a prayer circle. And the reason is, number one, you need to be active. Number two, you need to be visible. And number three, you need to take authority. And it's the same with purpose. You cannot be purposeful lying in your bed and no one knows about it, not even you. You need to say, number one, you need to activate, you need to get up, and people need to see you are actively chasing it. You need to be visible. It needs to be visible, and people need to know Rian is on his purpose, and this is his purpose. And then number three is you start taking authority, and you take your godly authority over your purpose, and you start living purposefully.
You know, Rian, you're touching on something so important about the difference between the world system and where you're pursuing a career versus pursuing your purpose. Because there's a question that people often ask with the world's mindset, and that is, who is your competition, or what is your competition doing? And they're so busy relinquishing the race that they were born to run to compete against others. And the thing that I believe it's a conclusion that I've come to, and I think it's the right conclusion. I hope it is. But for me, purpose is not about competition; it's about completion. In other words, we are here to complete one another. We each have our own unique set of gifts and talents, and when we work together as one body, we complement one another, and the end game is so much bigger than what any one of us could achieve on our own. And I think that bigger purpose is maybe even beyond our comprehension or understanding. But if we're doing our thing and recognizing that we complete one another, then I think it strengthens us individually. Sophia, what are you've been listening to Rion there, and he's covered a number of points. I was waiting for him to say, and 4 is, but he stopped at 3 on the second occasion. He stopped at 2 on the first occasion. Maybe there's something else coming, and he's going to say, there are 4 things you need to know. You get? Sophia?
Is there a 4th one, Rion?
I think you've got the 4th point, Sophia. You got the 4th point, I'm sure.
I think Rion made some really great points, but I think it also goes to, what do you stand for? It's more than just, my purpose is this, and I'm going to do that. Yeah. I think it's a little bit more than that, because a lot of people don't know what their purpose is. They have a skill, and they feel that skill is their purpose. And I belong to another forum, and the mantra or the catchphrase of the other, it's an entrepreneurial forum. It's specifically designed for entrepreneurs, and it's called Givers Gain. And the whole ethos is around
give is gain. Give is gain. Is that what you say?
No, givers.
Givers gain. Okay, great. I got it.
Yeah. So the whole ethos is around the more you give referrals and to others in your chapter, they call it, the more you will gain. And it's not about a financial gain. It's about looking after your fellow friend, entrepreneur, member, whatever you want to call that individual. Yeah. It's not a Christian forum. It's just a business forum. And we meet every week, very similar to MAP. I've sat on their leadership teams and done a whole lot of stuff. So I understand it quite well. I've been there for almost 9-10 years now, similar to MAP. So I really do believe what you were touching on earlier, Rion, around people need support. People, especially entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs don't feel like they have anywhere to go, especially the ones that are small or that are sole proprietors, and they sit in an office at home, possibly, and that's all they do. They're client-facing, look at a screen, hardly go out. and they don't have the support. And that's why this other forum I find is also very helpful, because it aligns. MAP gives you the tool in terms of the mental capability. And these guys give you the tool in terms of the business acumen, in terms of how to do referrals and how to integrate with other business people. So yeah, I
So,
think
yeah, I think just listening to what you're saying there's a lot of people. I mean, I know what you're referring to, and you're welcome to tell us what it is, because I think there's many other people in Map for Life are entrepreneurial by design. I mean, they have dreams, and I think that's the one thing about an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is a dreamer, and not just a dreamer. They're somebody who's acting on their dream. They're somebody who's feeling like maybe they're fighting a battle all on their own. They don't know that Steve Jobs also started his business in a garage.
Yep.
Elon Musk started his business using his office as his bedroom, or his bedroom as his office. So everybody starts in that place, but many people don't realize it. So I think
Yeah.
it could be valuable just to tell people just very briefly a little bit about BNI, and if they can, if they're able to contact you, or they can just contact me, and I can give them your contact details, and maybe they can just connect with a local forum. Rion might even want to connect with the local forum there, just to tell them about Time to Rise. Maybe there's some
It'd
people
be
sitting right
wonderful.
there in Johannesburg.
Well, let me, sorry, I wasn't sure if I could mention the name or not, but it's called BNI. It stands for Business Networking International. It was designed by a chap, sorry, it was designed by a chap's name. His name's Ivan Meisner, in the 80s. And he's actually a devout Christian, believe it or not. But he didn't start the forum with that view or that mindset. He started the forum because he was faced in the same predicament as most of us find ourselves, or most entrepreneurs find themselves, which was that he was all alone, didn't really have, a marketing team or anybody that he could rely on. So he started his first, they call it a chapter, in the USA. And then the beauty of it is that you can only have one person or one business type in a chapter of that sort. So, for example, I represent short-term insurance. Even though I do long-term, there is a long-term guy there as well. So we've got attorneys, and we've got plumbers and electricians and coaches and a number of different people in our chapter. And so you can't have two electricians, for example. You can only have one. And it's a givers gain whole ethos around the more you give, the more you gain. And you've got a team. Like at the moment, I think we're 30 members in our chapter. So your team of 30 people promote you to their client base. So imagine if each person has got 100 clients, which is very small. They've probably got more than that. You're looking at 30 times 100, which is a significant amount of people. And they refer you.
Sorry,
And that's
Sophia,
how you get business.
I think the whole concept is brilliant, and for any of the mappers who are in that place where you kind of feeling like you need to get more business, you need to be able to get your message out there more. I think this is a great forum to engage with, and what I like about what you're saying is it's forced diversity. So you're not talking to all the same people from the same place. As an engineer, I generally flock to engineers, and we can have a wonderful discussion about all the problems in the world, because we are problem solvers, and we know we can do better than any government and all those things, because we're always right. Is that not so, Rian? So I love the idea of diversity. I think there's a lot of power in diversity. There's a lot of power in having different perspectives. So keep up the great work over there. Before we end this evening, I just want to quickly say thank you to Gustav, one of our trainers from Pretoria North area. Great to have you joining us. And also Sammy, all the way from a trainer of ours in Lusaka, Zambia. Great to have you joining us this evening, Sammy. Always an encouragement to have you part of the session. So thanks to our online audience. If you're watching the recording of this session, please share your thoughts and ideas or questions with us. And before we close, I'm just going to ask Rian and Sophia just to share a last word, if they can, in sommer 1 minute, Rian. Is dit moontlik?
Of course, it's possible. Yeah, I think my takeaways from tonight is, you know what, nah? Know your purpose. If you don't know it or you're not sure, discover it. Go the extra mile. This can be the most important decision in your life. Find your purpose. And once you find your purpose, build a network around you. Don't try to go it alone. God has put people around you in a network around you. Don't go it alone. Get the people around you. Rally together. Assist other people. I like that. You know, you'll get more. I forget how you said, Sophia, but that thing about the more you give, the more you will receive. Have open hands. Have open hands in terms of your purpose and your support to people. Be significant.
Thank you so much, Rian. A wonderful
Thank you,
statement.
Rian.
Sophia, what's your parting thoughts?
Yeah, purpose, passion, and action. Give us gain. And if you'd like to know more about BNI, we do meet online. So you're welcome to give me a call or drop me an email. Glen, I'm sure we'll give you my details, or I can do it online now as well. Really up to you. But yeah,
Great.
have a plan. Thank you, Glen.
Sophia, you mentioned a word there which I think is really, really important, and that is that when you talk to people about purpose, it's such a big question that they almost go glossy-eyed. But if you talk about passion, they understand that. And the one thing that I would like to just close with is that purpose and passion are Siamese twins. So you don't have to go and seek your purpose, that big question. But if you just connect with the things that you're passionate about. Rian has just put his spectacles on. And I want to tell you an interesting story. I was in Bloemfontein. Rian, you know where I was. And I sat down waiting for the event to begin, and it suddenly dawned on me that I'd lost my sunglasses. And I began to think, where could I possibly have put them? Did I leave them on the car and we drove off and they fell on the ground? Have I sat on them and they're now broken? Are they in? And I was desperately trying to find my sunglasses. Thankfully, I didn't ask anybody if they had seen them, because I was literally wearing my sunglasses. They were these cover overs. I was wearing my sunglasses. What is the message? The message is that sometimes you and I cannot see our purpose, but other people can. For them, it is clear what your gifting is. So why not just ask somebody, or just listen? What do they keep asking you to do? Because maybe in that lies the secret to your passion and purpose. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been wonderful. Rian, I've been encouraged to have you here. Sophia, thank you so much for sharing with us. We're going to close with a short video. For those of you who've joined us online, I see there's a number of you. Thank you so much for being part of tonight. I've enjoyed tonight. You know, Wednesdays are my favorite evenings. I'd love you to join us again next week. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening further. And we will see you same time, same place after this session tonight. Good night.
Super. Thanks, Glen, Rian. Good night.
Bye.
Muy buenos días a todos. I am Miguel Sanz from Madrid, Spain. I started using Map for Life back in 2016, where this picture here, where I am with Glen, belonged to that year in the training I did in Pretoria. And you know, there are many talks, many talks out there in internet, in real life, where great speakers tells you that you are unique, that you need to find your purpose, what you need to do in life. You end up out of those talks really happy, but naked, because you have no tools. What's Map for Life? Map for Life gives you the tools to achieve your goals, to be precise, to do all the things you need to do to achieve them. You are unique. Be mapped.